going up to Edmonton now. Dean Millard joining us from For Vengeance Media. His name, he's no stranger to anybody. Brandon Product, longtime hockey broadcaster up in Edmonton. Can we start with the Oil, Dino? It was a 3-2 overtime win over Montreal last night, and that was not a shock. Maybe if there was a surprise, it was that it went to overtime at all. Your thoughts on the latest Oilers win?
Yeah, this is a team that I think every game they go into now, even against Colorado the other night, you should be expecting a win and 2 points. The fact that they go to overtime, yeah, maybe it's not expected, but not the worst thing. You give away the bonus point to an Eastern Conference team, and playing tighter overtime games now is, I wouldn't mind it if, half my games almost went into it. You need to start getting into that. We're seeing that at the junior hockey level right now. We just came off our youth provincials or our championships. We're seeing that as the last 2-3 weeks of the season, the hockey needs to get better. And what has the problem been with the Oilers is that they're a great regular season team, but they can't get it done in the playoffs. So having tougher games in the regular season, sign me up if I'm the Oilers for as many as I can get heading down the stretch to get into that mode of having to play really, really tough hockey and having to win differently than 7-5.
No, it's interesting you say that. And Carius was on with us last week, our old friend, and he brought up the playoff disappointments. You'd like to think, Dean, that teams learn year after year after year. This is largely the same group that lost to Vegas last year. There's no Jack Campbell, but Stuart Skinner's the guy. The forward group's all the same. You had Ekholm last year. Like, maybe they learned a thing or two last year. Maybe this year will be different. I guess, what choice do you have, right?
Exactly. You have to learn. Great quote from a coach I dealt with this year, Ryan Carlson out of Kootenay. He said, a loss is only a loss if you don't learn something from it. So the Oilers should have had a lot of learning experience. And I mean, this is cliche, Rod, but we see this in a lot of things. You don't see it as much in junior because there's not as much time as guys age out. But in the pros, you see it in a lot of different sports. How many times does a team have, devastating defeats or at least one before they get to it all with the same group? So the Oilers have had a lot of those experiences. I think probably enough for their liking and their fans' liking. And they're like, okay, we're done with the learning. Let's take the test. It's like your driver's test. It's like, hey, how many times can I go driving with my dad before I can actually take the test? And this kind of like the Oilers have to be, it's put up or shut up. I said at the start of the year, Stanley Cup or bust, or at least Stanley Cup finals or bust. And they went through that swoon when everybody was panicking, and they came out of it, and it's still the same goal. The roller coaster ride still has the same goal at the end, no matter how many loop-de-loops you do during the season.
Oh, man, Dino, you brought so many things up in my mind. Number one, it took me 3 cracks to get my driver's license, but I finally did, so there's that. 2, I guess the Oilers, somebody brought up that they are the hottest team since the coaching change, which I think was November 12th. Can you think back to what you were thinking at the time? Did you think a change needed to be made? I mean, clearly it did. It's just so weird to me that Jay Woodcroft leaves as the winningest all-time winning percentage in NHL, in Oilers history. It's unbelievable.
It's a what have you done for me lately? Ask Lindy Ruff. He had the best season in Devils history last year, and he's watching Travis Green right now. And it's the same thing. I did not think the Oilers needed to make a coaching change. I thought the fault was on the players again. But the cliche is you can't fire the players, you fire the coach. They did. They needed to change. The team had clearly not stopped listening to Jay Woodcroft. For whatever reason, it's the same thing with, Stuart Skinner. It was up for the Rookie of the Year, and people wanted to punt him because they struggled a little bit. And I mean, obviously there needed to be a change. Hindsight is 2020 for that reason. But at the time, I was disappointed that the players were getting left off the hook again for this reason. So sometimes what you feel, and maybe even Ken Holland felt the same way, but he still had to make a move or else he was going to be the one that was getting fired. You had to do something to turn that season around. And what other options did you have? Making a trade, to me, is a panic move because you could be giving away somebody who was underperforming. So a coaching change was really the only option they had.
Well, Dude, I don't know how you survived and continue to survive so long in the Edmonton media market with those Oiler fans. And they're not any different than any other rabid fans, but it's like Ken Holland signing Evander Kane. I thought it was a bad idea. Worked out pretty good. Demoted Jack Campbell. That's no small thing. Firing Jay Woodcroft. That couldn't have been easy either. Every one was the right move. And it's interesting, by the way, I looked at Ken Holland here the other night. He was in the press box. Doug Armstrong, a bunch of GMs were here. I'm like, what are these guys all doing here? And now I see that the GM meetings are going on. But for another year, it's the Kings and Oilers, it looks like, in round one. For the longest time, it's been lined up that way. Looks like it will be. The Kings have been nothing more than a speed bump, really, every year for the Oilers. Do you expect this year to be the same or no?
Yeah, I think so. Listen, I honestly think that the way this Edmonton Oilers team has been built, and say what you want about Connor Brown and the one goal this year, and I couldn't believe it. I don't know how a guy who scored 20 could go that long, but he missed a lot of time. He's going to be he will play a somewhat valuable role in the postseason. I mean, this is a move I think the Oilers are built to win that series in 5, maybe. I know the Kings made a change and everything, but I'm like you. I think the Oilers are not looking past the Kings, but they are built for bigger and better things. I mean, it's amazing. We might have an All-Canadian Conference final. Apologies to the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars, who I think are ridiculously good, Colorado especially, but there are 3 Canadian teams. And we could honestly see a Canadian Conference final. I would love it. I'd love to see an Edmonton Jets. I mean, 1990 is calling. Jets fans would like some revenge. And by the way, I talked to Craig McTavish a while ago about that year. He said the Jets were a better team, but the Oilers, they had it up here because of Mark Messier and company. They had the belief, and they got into other teams' heads. And I wonder if a McDavid, Draisaitl, even though they don't have that playoff experience, gets in other teams' heads when it comes into the playoffs. Or the fact that the Oilers have had no success, the other team said, these guys are easy. I think it's going to be a different story this year for the Edmonton Oilers, the way they've been built.
As they say, 90% of the game is half mental. You know that, Dean. Okay, before we let you go, producer Clark, get it ready. Dean Millard is with For Vengeance Media. You've got a video here. Clark, roll it whenever you are able to. And there you go. Dino, what are we looking at?
Well, we had our JPHL championships over the weekend, 4 divisions at our brand new Silent Ice Center arena. And like IKS, we're just trying to produce amazing memories for kids and adults and youth sports and different things. We think we're doing an excellent job. We had 13 multi-camera shoot replays, an interview desk. And, Rod, when we were growing up playing sports, we never had anything like this. The youth and the parents and everybody, the memories that we're able to make for them are so special. So I just wanted to congratulate our entire crew and the JPHL for a job well done that we did. And like I said, like IKS, For Vengeance Media is just trying to make memories for a lot of people. And the memories I have look like they were shot from a canoe when I was playing hockey. They certainly weren't 13 multi-camera angles and all this stuff. So we're doing our best to put a stamp on youth sports because we think youth sports deserve to be covered. And the other thing, Rod, is the first 2 stations that I started out at are now closed. CKX in Brandon, RDTV in Red Deer. The next 2 stations I worked at, Global Regina and Global Edmonton, don't have sports departments. Production companies like ours and IKS are the places that young students will need to go to now if they want to do sports. So just a changing landscape of sports media, that's for sure.
Hey, you guys are doing a great job. And we had this chat the last time you were on. I remember the first time I saw myself on video as a hockey player. I was 16, I think. VHS, of course. And it was like, oh, 16. Oh, my God. All right, Dean. Keep it up, brother. Appreciate you. Let's do it again soon.
Thanks, Roddy. Anytime.
Dean Millard from For Vengeance Media.